Croissant all, and welcome to the latest episode of the Fearless in Devotion podcast. We have Andy Gilpin, we have Reese Williams, myself, Andrew Pollard, three grown men who sometimes feel a little bit lost between 3 and 5 on those Saturdays when Wrexham don't have a game. But we did have a game today, and before we get into that, we will bring up our sponsors, of course, the Fat Boar in Mold and Wrexham, the Hill Street Social, the Mice Quinn Hall, FE's, the Corner Board, the Bucking Banger, and the Croyce Howl. Now, the men did have a game today. The women did not. So there will be no discussion about the Wrexham women's game because that game was called off about 2 hours before kickoff due to a waterlogged pitch. Of course, the ladies were due to finish their league season away at Swansea, but that game will now be played at a later date. We are fresh off literally about 6 minutes ago from Mansfield 1, Wrexham 2. Andy, you have a lot. I mean, we all have a lot to say on this, but we'll start with you because we have a little natter before we came on, before Reese joined us. Fire away, take us away.
I'll take. Oh God. Right. Okay. I thought we started really well. Obviously, the own goal was a gift, but I think we built on that a little bit. A couple of things. Rodriguez's miss. I think we're going to have to talk about it because
It's gone straight in.
It's
Straight in.
unforgivable, that miss. I mean, he hasn't. You've got to look up on that. And the thing is, don't hit it low. Just hit it high. You've got a chance of. He might the guy on the line might try and save it. You've got a red card. I mean, just hitting it right at him. People say it was a good clearance. It wasn't a good clearance. It just hit him. So I was fuming with Rodriguez, especially when they equalised. But obviously that's by the by now because we managed to win. And I just think it had to be Rodriguez with that because if say Sam Smith does that, he's already bought himself a little bit of goodwill. I think because Rodriguez has come in on big money, I often say that the striker and the goalkeeper are the two positions where you really need to start fastly at a new club to really sort of underline, how good you are. And I still think that maybe Jay hasn't done that. I still think there's a lot of quality there, and some of the little passes he played today were good, but I just felt sometimes he was just in the hole and not really influencing midfield or attack. Maybe that will come as he sort of gets together with Smith and they really sort of nail down a partnership. I think that's Parkinson's preferred partnership until the end of the season now, which is sad for Paul Mullin. I think the one person who might be able to unbalance that a little bit is maybe Jack Marriott, who I thought again came on for his cameo and chased down everything and looks dangerous. So maybe going forward, it might be Smith and Marriott, and that might be a real sort of on the shoulder sort of front two, where I think Rodriguez drops a little bit. Reese, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that is the starting two for the rest of the season, barring any injuries or dreadful sort of runs of form. But I'm just pleased to get the win today because we just needed to win it anyway. It wasn't particularly pretty, although I thought we came out with a nice bit of purpose in the second half.
Second half was as bad as we were in the second half against Orient. We were as good against Mansfield, and really and truly, they didn't have a sniff.
I thought they were edging us towards the end of the first half after Cannon's injury. I think we were a little bit shaken by that because they were on top for a bit. And then, so it's good to see us come out well. I thought Revan was a revelation.
Yeah,
Revan.
That's his best league game for us, isn't it?
Oh, he was quality. And, my hope is he was started because, he's been playing like that in training and he's impressed Parky and he's earned his spot because I thought he played really well, looked really sharp. He beat several people several times. He looks a real danger down that flank. Really pleased with it.
Yeah, I thought with Revan as well, especially second half. What impressed me was because obviously we know he's a good athlete. He's very quick, very rapid, up and down. But I thought his decision making was in terms of he knew when to not fanny around a bit. As in, right, if it's called for, just go line and hope somebody gets onto it. I thought his decision making was good. Andy, to circle back to you, were you surprised? Because obviously this was a starting 11 that was 5 changes to the last game. Arthur coming in for Mark Howard, Longman in for Barney, Revan for McLean, Tom O'Connor for Lewis Brunt, and Andy Cannon for Matty James. Do you see that as a indicative of the performance against Leyton Orient, or also with maybe an eye on playing a stronger team against? I mean, we'll get to a Peterborough preview, coming up. But is that also maybe with an eye on the game on Wednesday?
I think he's got a full squad packed with quality, and so when you got on the end of a very disappointing loss like Leighton Orient was, and I don't really want to dwell on that game too much because a win makes everything better, doesn't it?
Yep.
And at the moment we're only 3 points behind Wickham, I think, and Wickham have got to go to Birmingham on are they home or away at Birmingham? I think they're at St Andrews, aren't they?
I'm not too sure. I know it's next weekend. I know it's Birmingham, but yeah, I'll go with
I'll check in the background. But basically,
Wickham at Birmingham next week.
Yeah, we're just trying to work out if it's at St Andrews or not.
It is at St Andrews. Sorry.
Okay, great.
I was half listening.
But we've got a packed squad. We've
Yeah.
got a squad packed full of decent players, and so when you have a loss, Parky should take that time to say no one is safe here. No one is going to come back and say off the back of that performance and say, okay, well you keep your place. You don't. So you've got to perform. We've got 10 to 15 games left this season, and you've got to perform in every single one of them. Otherwise, Parky will be ruthless and he will take you out and he will make 4 or 5 changes. And I think maybe he's not been guilty of doing that enough during his tenure, but you could see how annoyed he was in the post-match interview against Orient. So he has that at his disposal. He can go to his bench, he can go to his squad, and he can really call up quality in all positions. Okonkwo coming in for Howard, I'd say that's a plus. I feel a bit sorry for Brunt, but I do think he had a poor game on Tuesday, probably his poorest for us. But as a centre half who's quite young, you're going to have bad games, and I think with him, he has to go to the Max Cleworth sort of rule book. If you have a bad game, how do you go? How do you learn from it? Do you go away and you make sure it doesn't happen again? And that's what Max does really, really well. Anytime he's been bested or he's had a crappy game, he goes away and he comes back stronger. And I hope Brunt does that as well. So yeah, I'm not surprised he made the changes. I still think he will go quite a second string team against Peterborough for 2 reasons. One, the league is our priority, and we've got a huge early match against Bolton on Saturday, and also it's Peterborough at home. You would expect to win the form that they're in, even with a few sort of squad players.
Don't be getting all Charlie from the Poshcast there and predicting a 5-0 win. But
no, I'm not going to do that. I think
No.
it'll be a very tough game. But at the end of the day, yes, it would be nice to go to Wembley, but it will disrupt our season more when at the key point where we probably don't need it. So it's not for Parky to go full strength, 120 minutes, all that sort of stuff. I think really and truly you have your eye on Bolton. That's the game I care about, because all of a sudden, again, we're in a real shout of automatic promotion, a real shout. Like, no one won over the weekend. Huddersfield lost. They were my tips. I'm excited again. I think we can do it again, where also hope seems sort of lost on Tuesday night. So, let's concentrate on the league. There's not going to be a better opportunity for us to get into the Championship to do back to back to back, which has never been done.
So do you think full second string then?
No, I think
semi-final.
I think he'll mix it a little bit. I think there'll be probably 1 or 2 first choice centre halves. I think he might go back to McLean if he's fit. I think in midfield, can we talk about the Cannon injury? It looked horrible.
That was next on my talking points out, because I'm keeping an eye on social media in the background to wait for Parky's comments after the game, see if anything comes out about that. But yeah, Andy Cannon going down with what looked to be a very serious injury. The commentator speculated it was his ankle. He was obviously got stretchered off. It was a big delay of 10 minutes.
Oxygen's the thing,
and he was absolutely hammering that oxygen as you saw the shots of him going back off. He was just constantly on it. And also, as a telling sign, whenever there's an injury like this, there was no replay shown, which is always an immediate red flag. But Reece, with you then, how big a miss could that be if that is, as significant an injury as it kind of looks at on a first watch?
It'd be a massive shame. I think he's got back into the side after probably the starting 3 of the last few months were I'd sort of creaked to a little bit of a halt and was sort of struggling a little bit, and he came back in and I felt he did bring some impetus and he brought that sort of energy that he always has, and he was the same in the start of the game today, and looked really innocuous. You could see him immediately waving the second he went down, which is a real worry. So yeah, it's a real blow. And Matty James didn't play badly when he came on, but he just doesn't quite look like he did when he first came. I think he, hit a bit of a rough patch. And but look, we've got a squad. This is what we've got it for. We've got enough players to go around. There's other players who can play in the middle as well, like McLean as well. So they'll have to roll their sleeves up. But
Evans is fit, but
Yeah.
barely gets a shout. The one thing I will say about James is I personally don't think James and Dobson really work together, and I liked the energy in midfield when Dobson was at the base of it today. And I thought when James came on, I thought, oh, this has disrupted us a little bit. In fairness, and probably because Mansfield are really bad, it didn't make that much difference.
I like James coming off. I think Dobson starts, and I like James coming off the bench with, let's say we're playing and we're
if we're in front,
we're looking, or even we're looking for that little bit of quality to unlock someone. I think he might offer that like he did against Rovers away, but. I mean, yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I'm not, that it's a shame now because the Parky's got a decision to make. Is that does he go straight back to that starting three, or does he try something different? Who knows?
Well, I mean, for me, if Lee is fit, Lee comes into it, and you put Rathbone on. You put Rathbone in the Dobson role. My preferred midfield with everyone fit would be Dobson, Rathbone, and Lee, because I just think Lee gives you that attacking threat, can break the lines, gets into the holes a little bit. Sort of is always floating around the box to pick up stuff. And I think we missed that. And I think that's why it was such a shame that Cannon went off, because he is the guy who does get ahead of the other two midfielders and can actually support the front two. So disappointing, but I do think there's enough cover there. There has to be enough cover there. And you've also got to think that all clubs now the transfer window is over, are suffering injuries and suspensions. I just think our squad is probably a little bit more balanced than many. And the other thing is Parky's only registered 22. So if there is a free agent knocking about who could fill that gap if Cannon is out for the season, which he looks like he probably will be, then that might be what Parky does.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting you bring up Gorgeous George Evans, because I think maybe he's been lost in the shuffle. Obviously, he's been out for a prolonged period, but he's kind of, because of that prolonged period, he's been in the back of mind. Yes, he's come in a couple of Vertu Trophy games lately, but that's somebody who was, a championship level. Well, he was at the championship level and as a captain for a club starting week in, week out for years, dropping down to us in League Two. So I think to me, I'd be tempted to maybe bring him in, and because that allows me that Ollie Rathbone to be that more pushing on. And because again, I thought today Ollie Rathbone, again, one of our
he was my man of the match.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Is running the running for the first goal. Obviously, it's an own goal, and you're looking at the defender thinking, "What are you doing, mate?" But that was Ollie Rathbone overlapping from Revan, and I just thought the energy levels of him ridiculous. But before we move on away from Mansfield as well, I just want to touch on. I'll go with you, Andy, first on this. You mentioned him earlier, Max Cleworth, again popping up with the goods. Just a second half, particularly, was kind of that Warriors performance. Even when he hit the post, the bar earlier on in the second half, when Dobson put the ball back in from a corner and he just gets a clip on it. But you kind of always felt that if we were going to get back into this game in terms of nabbing 3 points, Max was going to be involved somehow, whether it was a header off a corner. It turns out it was a strike from 20 yards into the bottom corner that he took very, very well. But a few of my mates messaged me after that had gone in going, well, there's Max adding some more money onto his value when we inevitably sell him.
Well, it just shows he can score all types of goals, doesn't it?
A great strike.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really close to the keeper, but he's hit it so hard and true, and it's bending away a little bit from the keeper, and it's coming through a crowd of bodies. But it just shows how much of a threat he is with his head, with his feet. For me, the moment in the second half was, I think their winger was coming onto Max, and he got the ball, and he dropped his shoulder, and he went past them, and he set up an attack. Now, when you're right-sided centre half can glide like that, everything just shows what a player we've got on our hands. The guy can do everything, and he's 23, I think, or 22, 23, very young for a centre half. He doesn't get beaten very often now. He's bulked up, and he has always been a good technical player. I mean, he had no right being there, to be honest. Why is our right-sided centre half sort of 10 yards from their box, marauding? No right to be there. I'm glad he was. I'm glad
Max the Marauder Max.
I'm glad he's sort of picking those moments where he thinks, right, I'm going to go forward here. Yeah, I'm going to join in. I'm going to give them more of a problem.
Max.
Yeah,
Max the moment.
Well, you
The
want any more
marauding
Mad
Max of the
takes?
moment.
Yeah, the
looking at-
marauding Max picking his moments magnificently.
Okay.
while eating some M&Ms on the way home. Or something.
Come
Yeah.
on, Andy. This is you work for the Daily Star. This is all you should be typing this. Should be writing this down.
No, that's not about
Well,
fish
I am.
fingers
I'm writing this
from
all the time.
aliens.
I'm not joining in because I don't want to give away my best bits in a free-to-air podcast.
Oh, nicely done. Yeah, I think Max just fantastic again.
How much
but
is he worth?
I don't know. I mean, if you're looking at me and I'm thinking, if we had to sell, as in like we had to accept an offer, what would you be looking at realistically? I don't know. Is 5 million too much of an exaggeration and too over the top? I don't know.
For a player who's in a League One promotion chasing side, who is 23 years old, no, I don't think it is. I think there's plenty of potential there.
Yeah,
I think.
As well as it being obviously an indicator of how good the season Max is having in front of the goal, the fact that he is our top goal scorer, well, equal top goal scorer now with 8 goals is also indicative of our problems up front in terms of having players playing consistently, because obviously there've been injuries up top with mainly Jack Marriott, Moles obviously coming back, Ollie Palmer having to play week in week out, Fletcher only being able to play really realistically half an hour. Again, I thought he was excellent when he came on. Just his touch, his awareness is. I mean, it's kind of the obvious thing to say that you can tell he's played at a higher level, but yeah, it's that indicative that our centre half, our 22-year-old centre half, is our top goal scorer with 8 goals, and we've got what two months of the season. So, but right, let's move on from Mansfield because there's a lot to get through, and we're trying to get through this one quickly so we can get it out immediately.
Sorry, just before we move on, can we just talk about Mullin, who made the bench, didn't come on? Where do we think we are with Mullin now? Do you think? I don't want to say that's it because I still think he'll have a part to play. Do you think he's a better option to partner Smith up front than Rodriguez or Marriott? Or do you think that there's something gone on behind the scenes, maybe that Mullin was the star man and the main man for so long that maybe he doesn't like or hasn't taken well to not being a starter? Reese?
I don't think so. I think people can read too much into these things. He plays in a football team and he's currently not first choice. That's it. I'm sure he'll be putting everything in training. I'm sure he doesn't like not being the star man because everything we know about him, he's incredibly competitive and he's got an unbelievable drive to win. So I'm sure he is, angry and really working hard. But like everything about him suggests to me that he will be quite constructive about that, and he's not throwing his toys out of the pram. I would imagine that is what's happening. And we saw today how quickly things can change, how quickly someone can have possibly a serious injury. We saw it earlier in the season with Marriott. When Marriott started, and everyone was like, "There's no way Mullin's ever getting back in the side." And Marriott goes and breaks his leg and is out for 4 months. So things can happen. Sam Smith could get injured next week, and Mullin comes back in or is on the bench and gets on regularly. You don't know. I think it probably is the last we've seen of Ollie.
Possibly. I agree there. Yeah,
but I don't know. But no, I think I'd like to think that Mullin is working very hard. I'm sure he is. I thought he might come on today. To be fair, he's a good guy to have coming on. Sort of when you're trying to see out a lead, works very hard. And is a bit of a pest. But I'm sure we'll see him. Well, we'll probably see him against Bolton. One would have thought.
Bolton, not Peterborough.
Peterborough. Second time I've done that. No, you did it first time. It's contagious.
I think with Moles, for me, he's the best way of describing the position he's in is he's that third striker off the bench if we're really chasing the game late on, when Parky goes all like balls to the wall. Because we saw today, it was Fletcher comes on, Jack Marriott comes on, and then it's that thing of if we weren't winning the game,
they're the first change, aren't they? Yeah,
exactly. That's it. Moles is that third one where if we decide to go with 3 players up front, when we're chasing the game with 10 minutes left to get a winner or to get back into it and draw, then that's where he is, unfortunately, at the moment. And that's without Elliot Lee being fit. I mean, if Elliot Lee's fit, we've seen that Parky's gone with Elliot Lee up front instead of Mullin. So yeah, it's a tricky spot for Moles. You want a player who, I mean, if he was happy twiddling his thumbs, not being in the team, then that'd be a
Mullin.
Exactly. That's it. You want players that aren't in the team to be chomping at the bit to get in, to be frustrated and pissed off when they're not playing, or when they're making the trip to Mansfield and they're not even getting on for a minute despite being on the bench. You want people to be angry about that, and you want them to be a bit bit between their teeth. If they were just content to be in that role, then that's somebody you don't really want at the football club. So yeah, I think Moles has got a role to play. I think there'll be a couple more goals for him, but right now he is, again, you're looking at it probably 5th in the pecking order, and that's just unfortunately the nature of football. It doesn't take away what he's done for us before. It doesn't take away what he might do for us in the future. But yeah, it does feel like, I mean, not the writings on the wall, because that sounds really melodramatic, but it does
And
feel like come the summer, something will happen.
and the pecking order can change. Just look at Andy and the way that he's already fed up with Rodriguez. Rodriguez is persona non grata now. So,
Say that.
week to week, the fickle football
I
fan.
just said he annoyed me by not putting that away, but that's all
Okay.
But
I was having a chuckle
as I
at
say,
Reece
that's
saying
by the
pegging order.
by. We won. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Moving on, because hopefully we will get a win on Wednesday, which is part of a very quick turnaround of a couple of games. Wednesday, Peterborough, the 3rd time this season we're playing them. Of course, this time it's the new Vertu Trophy, the semi-final, where the winner goes on to Birmingham at Wembley Stadium. Now, we played Posh twice a season, 2-0 away at the start of the season, August, where Jack Marriott and Max Cleworth, again, got a goal, beating 1-0 at home in January. I think that, it was the first home game of the season, of the year, 4th of January, and that was Stephen Fletcher saving us right at the death in the 87th minute. We've kind of mentioned it there. What are we thinking in terms of, this is a perfect showcase, Reece, for Paul Mullin to get a chance to get a start, get yourself some goals, and then maybe, like you said, that pecking order, it's interchangeable.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it would just be good to get him on and get some goals. I'd be surprised if Mullins didn't come in, or at least had a decent chunk off the bench. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because, I can't decide. I'd always said I'll care about this when we get to the semi-finals. That, usually I'm kind of like, last 16 quarterfinals, and it's like, ooh, but Football League trophy, don't really care. But then also Wembley, I mean, and also another trophy, like, why not? So I'm not an advocate of going a full second team. We've got, we've had a tough patch and we've won. Now, the logic says don't muck about with the team too much. Just, get back out there and get another win. But I would be resting anyone who is not above 95%. Who, I don't know who they are up to Parky, but I'd be playing Revan, for example, because he played well. So you want to keep that momentum going. I wouldn't be messing about too much. The kind of players maybe you're going to want to look to rest are your Rathbones, the people who cover so many miles, and we just do not. He's our best player at the moment. We do not want him to get injured in a game that is not 100% necessary for him to play. So yeah, a couple of choice changes, but looking forward to a day out of Wembley now. So hopefully we can get the win.
So Reece only cares when it gets to the semi-stage. That's what we're going with. That's the lead there. Andy, with you, watch out for that penny to drop. I'm just interested in what you think of the right side for us, because obviously Ryan Barnett was rested, dropped, whatever. He was on the bench today. He came on, did okay. It was Ryan Longman that started. Going into the game on Wednesday, does Barney get a start, or are we thinking, because obviously Longman very much impressed in the last round of the Vertu. What's your thoughts on that?
I'd start Longman on Wednesday, and I'd probably bring Barney back for Saturday. I just think Barney just offered a bit more balance. No, so there's some discourse from Reece Williams here.
For that, I think Longman, the flashes, he's only had flashes since he's joined us, and I think he's looked absolutely top quality. The level of the service he's got, he's created 2 goals from 2 absolutely shit hot crosses. I think I think he's, today we had a glimpse maybe of that, what would probably be the rest of the season running. I would be surprised if Longman is not starting lots of those big games. But I don't know. But there's still an argument to bring Barney back on Saturday. They're both quality, and I do wonder. But I would suggest that Barney is maybe a better option coming off the bench.
Maybe. I mean, he impressed me today off the bench.
Yep.
And so, maybe that sort of ability to hold on to the ball when you're ahead is really quite an advantage. Team-wise, I'd go Howard. I'd go Scar. I would probably pick, if Brunt is fit, I would maybe pick one of him and Cleworth, depending on who's got most left in the tank. Like Reece, I probably wouldn't play Rathbone. I would have, if Lee is fit, I would play him. But if you look at the state of his car in the pictures he put out on Friday, Yeah, it's taking a battering that, so that's got to have shaken you to your core. That wing back wise, I would play Longman personally. I still think there's more potential in Barney than there is in Longman. I would probably play Mendy or McLean if they're fit.
Harry Ashfield back in as well. Obviously impressed.
On the bench. On the bench.
Okay.
Yeah, on the bench. Midfield wise, yes, I would take Rathbone out. I would probably think that I'd like to see Evans start as well.
Yeah,
Evans and Lee, and maybe Dobson on the right, and then up front, I would play Mullin.
And is it Big Mo?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I mean,
in the midnight hour.
If this guy's going to work for us, he needs to have those starts and those games. And he's not even in the 16 at the moment.
Mm.
Why not play Mo? I mean, God, if we don't know what he's going to do, certainly the Peterborough centre halves won't.
That's a great way to put it. One last point on Longman. I think going forward he looks very good, but you can tell that he's clearly a winger and forward player who's now quickly having to adapt to being a wing back, because there were so many times that first half after Mansfield got back into it where it was down his side they were getting in. But also I don't think he was done any favours in the middle of the park with the goal they got in where he was kind of dragged over. But that's a game we're going back to.
The thing is, like, Barney and Cleworth worked on that.
Yeah.
And they worked on that understanding, and it took time because they used to target Max down that side. They don't anymore. They probably target Tom O'Connor or Brunt a little bit more now, but that will come with Longman, I think, Longman and Max. But don't discount him going on the left as well.
That's what I did think today when Barney was coming on. I did for a second, because Barney and Fletcher came on at the same time, and I did think, like, is it going to be Revan going off, Revan going off, and maybe Longman going over to the left, Barney onto the right? But obviously it was like for like with Barney for Longman. Now to wrap up this bit, the Peterborough, Andy, prediction score wise, what are we going with?
I think it will go the distance. I think
is it Rocky?
Yeah. They always go the distance. I think it might go to penalties. I think Peterborough have got nothing to lose, have they?
No.
Nothing to lose. A day out in Wembley for their fans. Darren Ferguson will be desperate to win this, not just because of the Wrexham connection, but because it will paper over the cracks of a poor season. And it will also put a bit of coffers in the club to rebuild and go again. So I think Peterborough will be all out for this. A bit of echoes. Remember when we were like 4th, 5th bottom, when we won the LDV Vans?
Yeah.
The only thing the other thing on that is, what a lovely sort of segue for 20 years since we won the Football League trophy to go back to Wembley again, but completely different sides of a coin now. Back then we were struggling, we were poorly run. It was something that sort of saved the club for a lot of us. And now we go back as Hollywood fancy Dans, Wrexham FC, with plenty of money and a huge fan base. It'd be great to see how many Americans came over for it as well. Should we get that?
Indeed. So, I just want the Eat More Chips flag to be there.
Yes. Don't let salad win. Never.
Don't
let salad win. Right. So Andy, you went around the houses there. It's going to go to penalties.
I think it will go to penalties, but I think we'll go through.
Oh, there we go. Reese.
I think we'll win in normal time 2-1.
Oh, nice and simple. Pure and simple. I'm going to go normal time. I'm going to go 2-0. I'm not underestimating Peterborough. And also the other fairy tale aspect is that Darren Ferguson 20 years on to go back there. But
I didn't even think of that.
That's where I thought you were going. Like, isn't it a lovely sentiment of? And I'm thinking, is he going to go with Fergie?
Absolutely. You'll be telling me that Wanagati is Birmingham's assistant manager in a minute.
I
remember covering that game when I was at the Daily Post, and I said to Darren Ferguson at in the post-match press conference, Darren, is this your proudest moment in football? And he goes, no, I won the Premier League. I went, yeah, you sort of did, but did you really?
Made about 15 appearances for your dad.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think, I'm going to go with 2-0 for us. But before, pretty much as soon as that one is done, I mean, that is Wednesday night, 7:30 kickoff. Our next game is Saturday, 12:30. Not even a 3 o'clock, not even a late, 5 o'clock kickoff or whatever, 5:30 kickoff on the Saturday. No, we're back in action. What, 2.5 days later? I mean, yes, they are both at home, and that next game, the league game, is Bolton, who are 8th in the league at the moment. I mean, obviously today, as we're recording this, is Sunday when we just played Mansfield. That was a game moved because of TV. Is this just something where, it's take the rough with the smooth? This is all part of the parcel where we're getting more footage, more coverage from television, from Sky in this case. So the game today gets moved. We've got a game next Saturday, which is an early kickoff for TV. We've got to get a game in there somewhere. So it's on the Wednesday. This is just one of those unfortunate part of the course things, Andy? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think we all knew when we started moving up the leagues that this would happen. I mean, it doesn't, it comes thick and fast because then we've got Huddersfield away
Yeah, geez.
a couple of days later. So it does not stop, does it? Absolutely does not stop. But that is why we have put together that squad. And I think today proves that Parky can mix and match and change that and still get results. What I would really hope is Bolton, even though it's 12:30, we really get the atmosphere up for that one because they're a big club. They'll have a big following. But we really need to do our part as fans to help the team through because they'll need us. Because what is it, 2 days, and then they're playing again early doors.
Yeah.
They're going to need us. We need to be there for them. All right. So whatever's happened before about atmospheres and how bad it was against Charlton and sorry, not Charlton, Leyton Orient. Okay, yeah, put that to one side. All right, be there for the lads. Start drinking. If everyone sets their watch to start drinking at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
And then we can really sort of build towards that 12:30, and we'll be asleep by 3 o'clock.
Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, just to prefix this, I will be doing my usual pre-match thing at my square before the game. So I will hold off on the booze till maybe 10:30. And just to mention as well, a friend of the pod, Mark McGregor, is coming in for pre-match chat on that one. So I think there are a few tickets left for a fry-up Macca, and then hopefully get the atmosphere going for the 12:30 kickoff. Reece Bolton, they unlike ourselves, they've got a whole
Bolton,
week
isn't
off.
he a Game of Thrones character?
Horrendous. Yeah, they unlike ourselves, they've got a whole week off. I mean, they've 3 league wins on the bounce, beating Crawley, the dirty stops from down the road, and then also beating Leyton Orient, something we can do. Yeah, they've got a week off. How much difference does that make, or is it again a case of our squad as a whole should be strong enough to do something, put a decent performance in on Saturday?
I think reality is now it's late February. It's always a slog now. This is like, I would say, the run in now, 3 months to go. You're in the last sort of chunk of the season, and you've just got to just take every game as it comes. You've got to go one game at a time and just roll your sleeves up. And yeah, look, they look like they're in a bit of form.
Just love these cliches. It's like you're an 80s manager.
Ron Atkinson. He's Ron Atkinson.
Oh, don't say Ron Atkinson. That's
yeah.
I thought Ron Atkinson, but I thought you can't say Ron Atkinson.
Everyone's going to put their shoulders to the wheel. We've all got to roll our sleeves up and muck in together and be there for one another, one game at a time.
Reece, can I ask the age-old question? If you were a manager, what would you wear on the touchline, and what would you change into anything for the post-match press conference?
That's a really great question. I've thought about it a lot, and I haven't been able to decide because I think my gut would be along the David Moyes kind of trackies, socks over the trackies, prop togs on as well, like boots on as well, full shebang. I think that would be. There's a part of me that thinks, oh, I'd love to, wear a proper suit and a trench coat, but I think realistically, I'm going to be trackies. What about you?
I would go tracky bottoms during the match, but I would change into suit trousers for the post-match interviews.
Would you change the top as well?
I would probably do some sort of training top, which I would put a training coat over.
So
you thought about this way too much.
You'd wear trackies
only for the match. Only for the match.
And then after the match, you would leave the top trackies on and change your trousers to
tracky bottoms off and put some trousers on. But then I would have my sort of training coat would be on both parts.
What's underneath your training coat?
Well, no one's going to see that because I'm not going to.
Chest hair. That's it.
Why would you change to suit trousers for the post-match interviews when no one sees your legs?
I just feel more in business mode there. And also, the only reason I'm wearing sort of trackies is because if the ball comes to me, I don't want to sort of balls it up and fall over, and not be able to return the pass quickly and easily. I don't want to become some sort of match of the day meme. So,
it's the last thing you want.
This is
And you've always said that.
I've always said that. So I might even put slip-ons on. I might even change from boots to. I mean, I probably wouldn't wear boots. I'd wear blades.
Okay.
Blades. Wow.
Mr. Pollard, do you have a sartorial choice?
Well, I mean, Mark Hughes managed to pull off a few volleys on the touchline in full suit, so it is doable, Andy. But
He's
then
a better player than me. He's a better player than me.
I got to say, I'm a hypocrite as well because I do like a manager in a shirt and tie. I think there's something about it for me that gets me going.
Well, I don't own it. I don't own a tracksuit. I don't own any sort of tracky pants. I've not wore tracky since I was probably playing like under 15s football, if that's. And I'm an old man now, so I guess by default I have to take the suit option. But it would be like a nice brown corduroy suit with a nice pair of Clarks.
Wow.
Yeah,
Like you're Doctor
You're
Who
going to
or
be
something.
slipping all over the place, mate.
No,
honestly, in that technical area, you're going to go on your ass about 3 or 4 times.
And then you become a meme on Match the Day.
Yeah,
and
is exactly what
Gilpin
I
will be there laughing at you.
it'd be fine. It'd be like the what Gareth Ainsworth is to like rock music. I'd be to shuffling 90s indie music. There we go. That would be
massively digressed
Yeah, to answer your initial question, look, that's exactly what the Bolton manager would be saying. He'd be saying, we're fresh. We got, they'll be having a big 5 days in the training ground this week, ready for next Saturday. But our next Saturday feels huge because Wycombe are playing Birmingham. So I think it's absolutely must win. You offer me to win one of the next 2 games and lose the other, then 100% we're losing against Peterborough. So
same here.
It's a big day.
100% nailed on. I would lose Peterborough to beat Bolton.
We want to be going into that game, that 6-pointer with Wycombe in 3 weeks' time. We want to be going into that being able to go above them if we beat them. It needs to be that high stakes, I think.
And also, a couple of my Bolton mates are coming down. Bolton Joey.
Bolton Pete?
No, his mate Nick, who I've met.
Bolton
once,
Nick.
I can't remember, but yeah, Joey Feisel's coming down. He took us round the sights of Bolton.
I remember you saying about that. Yeah, I remember you saying you're going for a weekend in Bolton the last time when we played them away.
Yeah, and we're going to the Fat Ball after for dinner. So yeah, we're giving them a full rundown of Wrexham sites there.
I heard the Fat Ball's nice.
I think it's all right. Yeah. Before we get into our sponsors and wrap this up,
can I also pop this up?
Okay, is this a newsletter?
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought I was on mute.
Right. While he's doing that, Reese, what's your score prediction for Bolton? Quickly.
Great question. But for which one? Oh, for Bolton.
Yeah.
I should be positive once in a while, shouldn't I?
Yeah, it's good for you.
I'm gonna say a 2-1 again. There'll be 2-2-1s the next 2 games. There we go. We're gonna win it.
I'm gonna go 1-0. Andy, before you go into the selling mode for the newsletter, what's your score prediction for Bolton?
I'd take a draw. I'd take a draw just because I do think that Wycombe will lose at Birmingham, and I think that's 2 points. And once you get it to that sort of level, I mean, I don't think Wycombe's form's been brilliant. I mean, they've beaten Bristol Rovers at home, bloody fucking da. They haven't.
I mean, we got beat by Leyton Orient at home, so we can't bloody anybody really.
But you know what I mean? Bristol Rovers are not Leyton Orient.
No. Orient, very good team.
Orient are a top quality side. Where I don't think Rovers are.
Wycombe look difficult to beat, don't they? I'm looking through their February results now. Clean sheet, conceded 1. Clean sheet, conceded 1. They're tight, aren't they? I think so.
That means probably they're not free flowing in attack, and neither are we. So I think it will be a war of attrition, and I think we'll either nick it by 1 goal or we'll draw. I would have to say I think we'll take the lead. We'll hang on like we normally do. And I think they probably will equalise towards the end, and it will be 1 each. But because we've won away, and now we're an away side, that's what we are. I only live for away games now. Home games, get in the bin.
Get in the bin. Just couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
So what was your prediction for Bolton, Andy? I got lost in the way, I think.
1 each.
1 each. And was there anything to say about the newsletter, or were you just flashing that up for people
I'm just flashing it up, but to be honest, if you want the newsletter, it's £15 for your first year, and there's plenty in there.
Yeah,
15 quid. Jesus.
15
Well,
bucks.
you think?
No,
little
I
man.
mean,
you think £1.25 a month is a lot? Do you, Reese?
it's a bargain. Well, my dad
Yeah.
signed up to it, and that's 15 quid less I'm getting in my inheritance. So I'm
Does
fuming.
he like it?
Yeah, I think he did.
Okay.
You did. One very, very last thing before we wrap this up. I just seen that because I was keeping an eye on it. Phil Parkinson is providing an update on Andy Cannon in his post-match interview. It's an update. There's not an update, but you can kind of read into it. He just says it looks like a knee injury. We don't know the extent of it, but we got the 3 points for Andy Cannon. So that.
I mean, if you get the 3 points for someone, that sounds like it might be like a dislocated knee or something like that, which would put him out for, 4 or 5 months. So I think his season's probably done.
I dislocated my knee.
Yeah, how long?
It was deeply unpleasant.
Yeah.
Well, COVID happened, so yeah, it's a full season jobby. But
Oh, dear.
but these chaps have access to things that I didn't. I just had the good old Swansea Bay NHS.
Yeah. And also, I'm not a trained physio, so
I was
might
just
not
going to
be-
say,
Don't listen to us.
We're giving him we're giving him the medical advice.
It's an
on not
amputation,
something we know
as
You know
Pretty
what?
good.
Cancel his contract. Put him out to pasture.
Yeah.
There you
Should reiterate. Parky's words were, "It looks like a knee injury. We don't know the extent of it."
Yeah.
And Andy's like,
and-
dislocated knee. He's done for the season.
Yeah, I
6
wish-
months.
And sorry for my jokey tone. We absolutely wish him the best.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
a horrible
Yeah.
injury. So whatever it is, if he's hurt his knee that badly, it's not going to be pleasant. So speedy recovery, and hopefully we'll get him back on the pitch ASAP.
Yeah, brilliant. And that brings to an end the latest edition of the Phillies and Devotion podcast. Again, a shout out to our friends, our sponsors, the Fatball Mold and Wrexham, Hill Street Social, My Squin Hall, FA's Carnivore, the Bucking Banger, and the Croyce Howl. Andy, Reese, it's been a pleasure as always, chaps. We'll be back.
I did the thumbs up on the wrong side. Yeah.
You can do thumbs work either side. This works for
Yeah, I
nobody.
know,
who's
but I went
listening.
like that because
Look at my dodgy thumb, by the way.
Oh, was that
Remember
the rugby injury one?
Yeah, I had surgery on my hand. It failed, by the way. I found out last week. Yeah, it doesn't point the right way. So
See, he wasn't just skiving for a few weeks. Anybody that's watching
I
this on
know.
video, it's a proper serious thing.
I had 3 or 4 weeks on the podcast because of thumb surgery, and it didn't work. Still,
thumbs
people
down.
have far worse problems.
Yeah, the wars and never good wars. Right. With that note, we'll be back next weekend. Have fun.